Right, so what we look at start off today is how does Satan use trauma to cause mental illness? I don't think we covered that last week.
No.
Right. Right, so Satan uses trauma to cause mental illness. Well, trauma, it's where that can happen to you, something bad. It's like maybe when I was about 10-year-old, I went down a hill on a bike. I went into a parked car, spun off that, went head first into a wall. And I knew I was going to come off, and I was going, doing the best I could to hold the handlebar steady. No good. I went straight down, poof, and off. And there could be a lot of other things causing trauma. But what happens then is, it's very possible at that moment of fear, stress, anxiety, demon goes poof in. Or maybe a demon will wind you up so you're afraid, and at that moment then there's maybe an open door, so they go in. And as we looked at last week, Satan uses a thought. They put thoughts into your mind to trigger emotions. And that can cause you to relapse into things like taking drugs, alcohol, because you're afraid of your future. You might have your benefits cut completely. They say no money for 6 months. And then you're scared, you're terrified. You're afraid of your future. Maybe your children turning against you, hating you. Your wife leaving you, saying, oh, you got no money, I can't live here, I'm gone. And these negative thoughts can wipe out a person's faith. It does happen. And when you have no faith, the Holy Spirit doesn't move then. You've got to believe him, got to trust him. And that's the domino effect. And if the person had truth and said, well, yeah, I may have problems now, but it's not out of God's ability to fix it, then they wouldn't panic due to fear. And of course, fear doesn't apply to real life, such as a polar bear coming at you, because God gave you fear to save your life. Now you look at a polar bear come out and think, whoa, it's come at me. But God gave you that fear, so you wouldn't just stand there and go, oh. But He doesn't give a spirit of fear. That's natural fear, self-preservation. But there is a spirit of fear, and that comes from Satan. Now, if you renew your mind and take all the lies coming from Satan captive, you won't have anxiety, you won't have stress, you won't have fear in your life. Demons attack the mind with fear and negative emotions, and these come out of the soul. The devil controls people through their minds, and none of these emotions are real. It's what you imagine it can be. Oh, this could happen, that could happen. You become afraid of it. And how many times when you're afraid, thinking, oh, this could happen, that could happen, oh no, how many times does it happen? Not often. Yes?
I do, I'm sorry. I live in fear near enough every day. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's horrible when you're afraid. But negative emotions come out of the soul. They're followed by negative behaviour. And it's happened to all of us, I dare say. So has anybody got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've got to be so careful because I've noticed, I often see things happening before they happen, sometimes, and other times I get worried, oh, this might happen, that might happen, so, and it doesn't happen, It's just a thought, it's just an imagination. Sometimes we let our imagination run wild, and by that door, you're opening the door for things to come in, and make you afraid and scared. It's like we said yesterday, last week. You've got to stop the thoughts straight away.
Exactly, yeah.
Control it.
And they'll feed on your fear. I'll give an example which you all think just above you know, when I was a kid, I lived in a house that had a poltergeist in it. And it would do things to get you scared. And you would be terrified, especially 1 or 2 days that I was home alone and they played up, and I had such fears I've never felt in my life. And I completely understand people are scared. I was too scared to move even. That's how bad it was. Why? Because they were doing things in the house. I was alone, I was a kid, and I was full of fear, terror. So yeah, they feed on it. They do things to get these emotions to rise in you, and then they feed off it. It's a clever way of doing things, isn't it? They're very well organised, they know exactly what they're doing. Now, demons, they're clever. They attack your brain. And mental health demons reside in the brain. And because we think that's where your thoughts are, and your emotions, and that's what they do, they reside in your brain. Now, there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. I know, it's funny names they give them, but there we are. And this acts like a thermostat. And it sort of regulates things, your emotions, and our normal base anxiety level. And as anxiety levels rise, as a response to things such as bereavement, work, stress, money worries, which a lot of people are going through at the moment, and that's external stress, then the amygdala's needle is pushed up, if you can imagine what I'm saying now, to the anxiety zone. Under normal circumstances, this needle returns back down to normal levels after the event. But when you experience stress, anxiety, and it's relentless, it's coming all the time, like if you're going to lose your house maybe, and you think, oh, I'm going to be out on the street, and I got kids, what do I do? And we've seen videos of that, I'm sure we've all seen them, a woman on the street, a child with her, and they're homeless, a young child as well. And they're going at, the stress they're going through is unbelievable. And that needle is then stuck at the high level. It doesn't come down. And it becomes instinctual then. It becomes instinctive to feel stressed out, anxiety, constant worry. And the thoughts, as we said last week, the thoughts will go around in your mind. And even if they weren't going to go around, demons whisper thoughts into your mind. And as I said last week, what they do is they don't say, you are stressed. They say, I am stressed. You think then it's your thought. The subconscious mind controls all the body's systems. And it thinks then this new anxiety level is appropriate and it's the normal level. But consciously, you know it's not. The subconscious says, yeah, this is what it should be. But your conscious mind is saying, no, this isn't normal. I'm not supposed to be like this. It's as if the hard drive of your mind has been reprogrammed with new anxiety software. And with this new anxiety level comes sensations and symptoms of anxiety disorder. Maybe panic attacks, phobias, disturbing thoughts. So in order to reverse these changes, you have to reset the needle of your amygdala back to the normal position. And what I used to find, well, I found over my life, as I'm sure many of us have, if you're stressed, if you've got anxiety, the best thing to do is to get into God's Word. Because you know everything in His Word is truth. And you know, no matter what you're going through, He will see you through it. It might not be pleasant, it might not be easy, but you know at the end of the day, He's there. And He will get you through it. Right, now, the amygdala. I wonder where they get these names from, innit?
Easy Latin.
Some flipping Greek, whatever.
Or Latin, innit? very glad then.
Yeah.
Anyway, the amygdala consists of two glands, the size of an almond. And the devil can attack these glands just as he can any part of the body. And if a person undergoes deliverance and removes that fear spirit, the amygdala glands return to normal. Now, a person undergoes deliverance and removes a spirit of infirmity. And say a person had cancer, it's gone. They return to normal health. Once a spirit of addiction is removed from a person's body, they're no longer a recovering addict. They become an ex-addict. Secular counselling has a 3 to 5% success rate because they don't remove the spirit that causes the craving. Psalm 53 verse 5, they were in great fear where no fear was. And this is how the Bible describes phobias. The idea just goes into your head. But they're lying. It's lies. It's fabricated. It's a false belief. They put the ideas into your mind. So anybody got any thoughts on what we've just looked at?
It's
Yeah.
scary that you're making sense.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's not a nice thing.
It's making sense.
But it's there. It happens. It's got to be looked at, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we only look at the nice parts of the Bible, yeah, that's great, and you go home from a service feeling happy. But then, what do I say? I preach free, not happy. And freedom makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't got freedom, you can't be happy, can you? Anybody else got any thoughts?
I'm glad you brought up the bit about addiction, and you know, okay, I went through treatment centre for my alcoholism and everything else, and the 12-step program, but they still say that you're once an addict, always an addict. Now God says different. I'll deliver you from all these things, and he will set you free. It took me years to realise that I was no longer an alcoholic. God had delivered me from that. And when I was going to meetings, you constantly, my name is, I'm an alcoholic, you know? Okay, in the beginning, when you're first doing it, yeah, you've got to admit your problem, and then there's a solution to the problem. But when you're delivered of the spirit of alcoholism, then you are truly free. You're no longer an alcoholic, or you're no longer a drug addict, or whatever, but God delivers you of and sets you free of it once you've had that deliverance.
Yeah, there's a lot in that, Sean. When you first go on and the people say they're an alcoholic, I think I would be more inclined to rephrase it differently. Because if you say that you are one, could well be cursing yourself.
Yes.
So that curse then has to be broken. So I'd be inclined, people need to admit that they have an alcohol problem, but they need maybe to rephrase it differently.
There was some sort of problem.
Yeah.
Not just down to, because most of the NA and AA and GA and all the other ones that you go to, they always say, I am. I
Yeah,
am.
exactly,
It covers
yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. And, right, so if we look at anorexia, for example, this is caused by a demon putting a thought into the person's mind that they're fat. They might be slim, might be looking nice. They look in the mirror and, I'm fat. And no matter how much weight they lose, they're still fat, even though they're not. And they play it over and over in their mind. And eventually they start to receive it and believe it.
Yeah, that's down to mental illness. That turns
Yeah.
into mental illness of body dysmorphia.
That's it, yeah. So again, it's caused by the demons putting those thoughts in their mind. And especially if a person's autistic, because then those thoughts will go round and around anyway. So now fear causes the person to diet. Bulmia is the same thing. It's not real. It's based on lies. And when they die, which is the net result, that part of it is real. All the imagination, the fears, isn't. And the fact they're ill is real. But the cause of the illness is lies. And the reason is they have an unrenewed mind. They are processing lies. Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Not lies, not demonic lies. The truth of God will make you free. And it does every time. Your thoughts, they're powerful. Far more powerful than you think. Because they control your emotions. If you can't control your thought, you're not going to be able to control your emotions. And as you said, capture the thought. Say, no, I'm not having that thought. Cast it aside and think of something else. Something nice, something that'll cheer you up a bit maybe. And it can be, it's not easy to capture a thought. But the more you do it, the more you depend on God. And just say, Holy Spirit, help me. I'm going to get rid of this thought now. I'm not having it. You will do it eventually. And the more you capture that thought, crush it. Because squeeze it because it's a lie and just go away. Then the more you do it, you find it'll get easier and easier each time.
Yes.
Now, fear and lust demons. These attack in the night. It's called sleep paralysis. Now, when a person has fear spirits, demons can attack you in the middle of the night. And if you don't take these thoughts of fear captive, then these fear spirits will take control of your life. They will start attacking you at night. You'll have nightmares, repetitive bad dreams, and eventually they'll start to attack you during the day. That's well known. People have been driving their cars, then as they're going along, the demon starts attacking them. And they can't handle the car properly then. And that becomes dangerous, which is what they want. Right, if anybody, I don't know if you all know what sleep paralysis is. You wake up in the night, your body's completely frozen. You're wide awake, you can't move. And you may feel a spirit pinning you down, holding you there, and you think, what's going on here? And until you learn how to deal with it, the only option you have is to ask God for help. And He will help. There's no two ways about it. He will help. And it's even been known that people have heard, when they've asked God for help, the demon is lifting off them. And the demon's even been heard expressing its anger at being made to leave the person. The demons have been heard swearing and saying all kinds of things. That's their anger. Again, that's an emotion, but the demons, who cares about them anyway? And most mental illnesses actually start with a spirit of rejection. Now, this spirit gets into people in a different way. And there's a few different ways. And the first one is in the womb, at the moment of conception. I'll just slightly divert then. I remember I was helping somebody once. I'm picking my words here. And a demon had manifested, and it was arguing. And I asked it, when did you get into this person? And they said, at the moment of conception. And I suspected that anyway. And I said, will that answer stand in the judgment? He went, yes. And this was arrogant, cocky, full of itself. And it confirms a lot of what I've been reading and what I actually did suspect. And secular research has shown that the fetus picks up information from its environment. It absorbs stress, pain, and many other things. And there's a number of ways curses can come upon the fetus in the womb. For example, a woman gets married, then she gets pregnant, but for some reason or other it causes a lot of stress. That can get transferred to the womb. And sometimes parents have children too close to each other and there's not a long enough time gap in between the pregnancy. And sometimes that can cause a lot of stress. Because you might think, oh, I've just had one and you can't afford this one. And so many reasons. We've covered the next one, which is money worries, unexpected pregnancy, they can't afford the child. And another one is the mother has fear of the birth. And that's common, very common. There are different types of fears about giving birth, and these fears can transfer to the womb, opening a door for a rejection demon to enter before the fetus, before it's born. And I know a woman once, and she always said, oh, I'll never have any more kids. I can't go through childbirth again. Oh, no. But then she'd say to her husband, I want a baby. And then she'd change her mind due to the fear. Now, I can understand that to a point. Not like a woman can, obviously, and I wouldn't claim to. But it does happen. And sometimes a pregnancy can pop up when the couple's thinking of getting divorced. Maybe attempting an abortion, and it's common for someone to talk about or think about an abortion, and that opens the way for a spirit of rejection to enter. It enters the womb that way, attacking the child. And I know somebody whose mother thought of having an abortion, but she didn't, and he's an adult and he's got problems. A lot of problems. Maybe the parent found out before the birth what sex the baby is, as is common today, and it's the wrong sex, and they think, oh no, I wanted a girl, I'm having a boy, oh no. Does anybody have any thoughts on what we've looked at so far?
Interesting.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, very different.
It's not the type of thing a doctor will tell you because they don't know. And like I say, I've come across somebody who demons went into at the moment of conception. And you wouldn't think at that moment, even before a single cell is formed, they're in. It is, yeah. Anybody got any thoughts?
I've got a question.
What's that?
I want to just talk about rejection.
Yeah,
You know, to reject a child at birth,
yeah.
and with that, throughout the childhood, is there like a curse then?
There is a curse of rejection, but it's quite easily broken. It's like any other curse. They're so easy to break. If a parent rejected a child, they don't need the child's involvement to break it. The parent can do it anyway, because the curse starts with the parent and it goes down. So a parent can do it quite easily. They've just got to renounce what they did, confess it as a sin, and then break it quite easily. It's not the problem.
Even now we could do that for it.
Oh yeah. It's so simple. It's easy, so unbelievably easy. And the thing is, people are going through so much because of curses, and these things can be just broken, no problem. So I could say it's quite easy. And then what you might find is, if there's a bad relationship between that parent and a child, that parent renounces what they did, breaks the curse, then very often we find the relationship gets better because it's no longer the curse of rejection. Like I say, it's never a problem breaking a curse. It's one of the easiest things you can do once you know what you're doing. I've done it countless times. Curses over people, curses over areas of land, I've done it. In fact, that was one of the first things I did when I learned spiritual warfare. There was a place where people were walking past, they were saying they could feel somebody looking at them. So being me, I went straight down there and broke curses, and there was nothing like that being said since. So it's so easy. Psalm 58 verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And this means that the child gets infected from the womb, and they can turn out, once they're born, they can turn out to be a very nasty piece of work. Not always, but they can. Hosea 9:11. As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth and from the womb and from the conception. Now here, God's talking about Israel, and they are worshipping of false gods. And a demon enters the womb, which is why some kids are born bad from the moment they're born. And if the parents are worshipping demons, false gods, it comes down the generational line. Then there's a curse. Second way they can enter. So first way is in the womb. Second way is childhood. And a spirit of rejection can enter a person during childhood. Now, they may have a physical disability or physical imperfections that they subconsciously think about all the time. People reject them or make fun of them because they have some kind of physical imperfection or oddity. And kids can be cruel. They can laugh and mock. They don't mean to be nasty, but they're just taking the mickey. And the victim can feel pushed away, hurt, and then they can feel rejected, or even by their own family members. And then a spirit of rejection can enter into somebody that way. Or they were born the wrong sex. Or for example, a woman's a tomboy. Or a woman can be masculine. Or a man can be effeminate.
Okay. Okay.
The parents might be going through divorce, or a child could be abandoned, and they blame themselves. So parents on divorce, they feel abandoned. Children feel they're abandoned, and the children might think, I'm to blame for my parents splitting up. And then a demon can go into them that way. Again, children might be totally innocent, not to blame in any way whatsoever. And when that happens, then demons say, you were to blame, or I'm to blame. Their thought would be. And they send that thought around the mind, the child gets stress, anxiety, and everything else. It could be the death of a parent or a sibling. Now, the death of a parent, even as an adult, there's nothing like that. It's awful. But again, people can still feel rejected, and you still feel it even as an adult, but if you're a child, it's worse, because you may not understand what's going on. Or if your brother or your sister dies, luckily and thankfully to God, I haven't experienced that yet, with a brother or sister dying, but people can still blame themselves, especially if they are to blame in some way. The death of a parent when a child is young is huge. You know, and the rejection demon takes advantage of it and it moves in. They're always looking for that moment, that little gap, and then they're in. There's a sense of being abandoned or maybe left on your own when a parent dies. Kids are not capable of sorting through that, and that's when they need adult help the most. And unfortunately, very often adults are not there to help the child. So the child has to process this trauma on their own, and the rejection demon takes advantage of it by moving in on them. And as I said, it's hard enough for an adult to deal with that. But for a child, I remember as a child, I had a dream. I woke up in bed and I was sobbing. My mother came in and said, "What's the matter, Wayne?" I said, "I dreamt you died." And I remember it clearly. And in the dream, my mother was there dying, and my father said, I was sobbing. My father said, "No, make your mother, don't cry, Wayne, make your mother's last hours happy." I'll never forget it. I must have been 7, 8 years old. And so I can stand to an extent what a child goes through. Because to me at that time I did. Maybe a demon put a thought, a dream in my mind, who knows? And there's also bullying. Now this is a huge problem. There's a lot of people getting bullied. And it's really bad. And the rejection demon loves it. Because the child, or maybe an adult even, is getting bullied. And they have a sense of fear. And the child feels hopeless. They want to get out of that school. Maybe they want out of their life even. And they want to turn around and run, scamper, and get out of the situation. But if they're in school, they can't. It's impossible. They have to go there. And the fear and rejection demons can get in easily then. Creates a perfect environment for them. And the person who's being bullied never feels like they're being accepted. But they might feel they're not accepted by so-called friends in school, but God always accepts them. He more than accepts them. He wants